The cameras rolled, the whispers spread, and the entire love and hip-hop world froze in disbelief. For years, fans have followed the tangled love triangle of Kirk Frost, Rasheeda Frost, and Jasmine Washington, but nothing could have prepared them for this. Hidden away from the public eye, away from the glitz and cameras, Kirk and Jasmine allegedly tied the knot in a secret ceremony that has left Atlanta buzzing with betrayal, heartbreak, and chaos. The revelation alone was enough to rattle fans, but when word reached Rasheeda, the unthinkable happened. She collapsed under the weight of the truth. Rumors began swirling after a grainy cell phone video leaked online, showing Kirk dressed in a crisp tuxedo and Jasmine in a sparkling gown, exchanging vows before a small group of witnesses. Fans immediately flooded social media, posting clips with captions like, "This can't be real," and "Rasheeda doesn't deserve this." Within hours, the footage had gone viral, and the Frost family name was once again dragged into the storm. Witnesses claimed Rasheeda had been blindsided. She reportedly discovered the truth while scrolling through her phone during a quiet evening at home. Friends close to the family revealed that as soon as the shocking images flashed across her screen, her entire world seemed to spin out of control. Emotions ran high, her breathing grew shallow, and before she could process what she had seen, she collapsed to the floor. Family members rushed to her side as paramedics were called, turning the Frost household into a scene of panic and disbelief. Fans are shocked, insiders are stunned, and the cast of Love and Hip Hop is said to be divided down the middle. Was this wedding real, or a staged stunt designed to destroy Rasheeda once and for all? Did Kirk truly betray the woman who stood by him through every scandal? Or has Jasmine once again pulled off a headline-making scheme? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: the fallout from this secret wedding will rock Atlanta like never before. The night in Atlanta was supposed to be quiet, but for Rasheeda Frost, silence quickly turned into a nightmare that shook the foundation of her life. She had grown used to the whispers, the half-truths, the messy blogs that always seemed to drag her marriage into chaos. But what flashed across her phone that evening was different. The glow of the screen showed Kirk standing next to Jasmine Washington, both dressed like bride and groom, a soft archway decorated with roses framing their figures. The clip was shaky, clearly filmed in secret, but the image was undeniable. Kirk's hand was on Jasmine's waist, and Jasmine was holding a bouquet. For a second, Rasheeda thought it was some old picture, maybe a photo shoot, or even a cruel prank. But then she heard his voice steady, low, and filled with conviction, reciting vows she never heard him say with such emotion, even at their own wedding. Her entire chest tightened. The betrayal slammed into her harder than any of the previous scandals. For years, she had fought through Kirk's mistakes, his alleged affairs, the endless rumors. She had stood tall when the world mocked her for staying. But this? A secret wedding? The very man who had shared her home, her children, her business, now seen exchanging vows with the woman who had haunted their marriage for years. She gasped, stumbling back, her phone clattering onto the table. The room spun as memories crashed into her. The late-night arguments, the tears, the times she chose forgiveness over freedom. Her knees buckled, and before she could call out for help, she collapsed against the cold hardwood floor. Within minutes, her son ran in, panic in his voice as he shouted for someone to call 911. The Frost household was filled with shouts, footsteps, and confusion. Rasheeda lay still, her breathing shallow, her mind replaying the image of Kirk slipping a ring onto Jasmine's finger. Paramedics rushed in, lifting her gently onto a stretcher. Neighbors gathered outside, phones in hand, whispering, "Did something happen to Rasheeda? Did she finally find out?" The ambulance sirens cut through the night as cameras from lurking paparazzi began flashing, already hungry for the story. Meanwhile, Kirk and Jasmine were nowhere to be found. The supposed ceremony had taken place earlier that week, deep in the outskirts of Georgia, at a secluded lodge known for private events. The guest list was said to be small close friends of Jasmine, a few family members, and a mysterious officiant who wasn't listed in any public records. The secrecy added to the suspicion. Fans began piecing together evidence online, tracking Instagram stories and cryptic posts. One user posted a blurred screenshot of Jasmine in what looked like a veil, captioned, "This ain't no party, this looks like a wedding." Others pointed out that Kirk had been unusually quiet on social media, a sign that something was being hidden. Back at the hospital, Rasheeda slowly regained consciousness. Her eyes fluttered open under the harsh fluorescent lights. The first thing she saw was her son's worried face, his hand clutching hers tightly. "Mama, you scared us," he whispered. But the moment she remembered what had triggered her collapse, tears welled up again. She pulled the oxygen mask slightly to the side and croaked, "Did you see it? Did you see what he did to me?" Her voice broke, and the room fell into silence. No one wanted to admit they had seen the same viral clip spreading like wildfire across the internet. Within hours, the story had dominated every blog, gossip site, and entertainment page. Headlines screamed, "Kirk Frost secretly marries Jasmine Washington," and "Rasheeda hospitalized after shocking wedding reveal." Fans flooded the comments with mixed reactions, some furious at Kirk, others mocking Rasheeda for ignoring the signs. One commenter wrote, "How many times does this man have to embarrass her before she walks away?" Another said, "If this is true, Kirk is done. You don't secretly marry your side chick and expect to get away with it." But not everyone believed the story outright. Some insisted it was a stunt. "Mona Scott must be behind this," a fan argued on Twitter. "This has her fingerprints all over it drama for the next season." Yet the footage seemed too raw, too intimate to be staged. It wasn't filmed with polished production cameras. It was shaky, grainy, and looked like someone sneaking a phone out during an actual event. By the next morning, Rasheeda's closest friends arrived at the hospital. Carly Red, known for never missing a chance to stir the pot, sat at her bedside with wide eyes. "Girl, I told you he was no good," she said, her voice low but tinged with the satisfaction of being right. Rasheeda turned her face away, her tears soaking the pillow. "Carly, this is different," she whispered. "It wasn't just another rumor. He married her. He married Jasmine." Carly shook her head, half in disbelief and half in excitement at the mess unraveling. Elsewhere, Jasmine remained silent. She posted nothing on her social media accounts, leaving fans to speculate. But those close to her claimed she was glowing, moving around with the confidence of a woman who had won. One insider whispered to a blog, "She's not hiding anymore. She feels like she finally beat Rasheeda at her own game." That comment alone sent fans into a frenzy, with many calling Jasmine disrespectful and heartless. Yet others argued she had always been painted as the villain. And maybe, just maybe, this was her chance to reclaim her narrative. Kirk, however, was nowhere to be seen. His phone was reportedly off, and no one could reach him. Some believed he was hiding out in a hotel, others thought he had flown out of Atlanta entirely. But his silence was the loudest statement of all. If it wasn't true, he'd deny it immediately. A fan wrote online, "The fact that he's quiet tells you everything." The tension in Atlanta grew heavier with each passing hour. Rasheeda's store, Pressed, saw reporters gathering outside, hoping to catch a statement from her employees. Customers walked in, whispering about the scandal as they browsed racks of clothes. Even loyal fans admitted they were shocked. One woman told a news crew, "I've been rooting for Rasheeda for years, but this is unforgivable. Kirk crossed a line that you can't come back from." At the hospital, Rasheeda asked for time alone. The nurses dimmed the lights, and for the first time, she let her thoughts run wild. She remembered their early years when Kirk was her manager, when they dreamed about building an empire together. She thought about the countless times she forgave him, the times she defended him against public criticism. And now, she realized, perhaps too late, that the man she sacrificed so much for had chosen another woman in secret. Her heart pounded with both grief and rage. Just as she was gathering her strength to stand, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a message from an unknown number. Hands trembling, she opened it. The words burned into her vision. "He chose me. Stay out of it." Attached was a photo Kirk and Jasmine, smiling. Jasmine's ring flashing under the lights. Rasheeda's scream echoed through the room, startling the nurses who rushed in. The collapse had shaken her physically, but this message cut into her soul. Outside, fans continued dissecting every detail. They replayed the wedding clip frame by frame, analyzing the background, the guests, the music. Some even claimed they spotted familiar faces in the crowd, friends of Jasmine who had appeared on the show in past seasons. The mystery deepened, and the line between reality and spectacle blurred even more. And as Rasheeda sat in that hospital room, gripping the phone with trembling hands, one thought consumed her. How could the man she built her life with betray her in the most public, humiliating way possible? Her pain was no longer private. It was broadcast, dissected, and debated by millions. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was entertainment for the world. The hospital walls could barely contain the storm raging inside Rasheeda. She sat upright in bed, clutching the photo that had just been sent to her phone. Her knuckles, white as her chest, rose and fell with uneven breaths. The nurse tried to calm her down, but Rasheeda waved her off, whispering to herself, "He chose her. After everything, he chose her." Her voice cracked with disbelief, and tears streaked down her cheeks, but there was fire in her eyes now. The collapse had shaken her body, but the betrayal was igniting a fury she hadn't felt in years. Carly Red walked back into the room, overhearing just enough to stir the pot. What do you mean he chose her? Who sent you that message? Rasheeda's trembling hand passed her the phone. Carly's eyes widened as she gasped. Oh my God, this is real. This isn't just a rumor. Girl, this is proof. She grinned, not out of joy, but out of shock at the scandal she knew would set Atlanta on fire. You know everybody's gonna eat this up. You collapsing, Kirk sneaking around, Jasmine flaunting. This is the story of the year. Rasheeda's lips quivered. I'm not a story, Carly. I'm his wife. Her voice cracked as the words left her mouth, and she broke into sobs. Carly tried to comfort her, but the weight of years of betrayal was too much. By midday, the hospital parking lot was filled with paparazzi vans, camera crews, and gossip bloggers setting up live streams. Reporters shouted questions. Is it true Kirk married Jasmine? How is Rasheeda holding up? Will she finally leave him? The chaos outside mirrored the storm brewing online. Social media was ablaze with hashtags, hashtag Kirk and Jasmine, hashtag poor Rasheeda, hashtag secret wedding, and even hashtag love and hip hop exposed. Fans divided themselves into camps, with some furious on Rasheeda's behalf while others mocked her for staying loyal to a man who had humiliated her repeatedly. In the midst of this frenzy, Jasmine sat in a luxury suite downtown, her phone lighting up with notifications every second. She scrolled through the headlines, a smirk tugging at her lips. A close friend sat beside her, sipping champagne. Girl, you broke the internet, the friend said with a laugh. Jasmine tilted her head back, her diamond ring catching the light. It was about time, she replied. He's been playing both sides for too long. Now everybody knows where he stands. But behind her confident words was a flicker of anxiety. Jasmine knew the wrath of Rasheeda was nothing to underestimate. She also knew Kirk wasn't as bold as he seemed. If he was already hiding from the cameras, how long before he hid from her too? Still, she pushed the doubts away, soaking in the attention. For the first time in years, she wasn't the outsider or the mistress. She was the woman in the white dress, and Atlanta couldn't stop talking about her. Meanwhile, young Jock caught wind of the scandal while hosting his morning radio show. Man, Atlanta is on fire right now, he announced on air. I don't even know what to say. Kirk, my guy, if you're listening, what the hell are you doing? His co-hosts laughed nervously, but the tension was real. Jock had been friends with Kirk for years, but even he couldn't defend this mess. Callers flooded the show with their opinions, some blasting Kirk for his disloyalty, others questioning if Mona Scott had orchestrated everything for ratings. Ain't no way this is real, one caller said. This gotta be for the cameras. Another countered, you don't collapse your wife in the hospital for clout. This is real pain. Back at the hospital, Rasheeda's mother arrived, her face lined with worry and anger. She marched into the room, demanding answers. Where is he? Where is Kirk? He better not show his face here, because I swear, Rasheeda reached out, grabbing her mother's hand. Mama, I can't take this anymore, she whispered. Her mother's eyes softened, but her jaw tightened. Then don't. Baby, you don't have to keep fighting for a man who keeps spitting on your love. You're stronger than this. The words hit Rasheeda like a revelation, but also with fear. Leaving Kirk wasn't just leaving a husband, it was leaving a business partner, a history, a family structure. The thought of dismantling all they had built together terrified her, even as her heart screamed for freedom. That evening, the first statement came not from Kirk, but from Jasmine. On her Instagram story, she posted a blurry photo of two hands clasped together, both wearing rings. The caption read, "No more hiding. No more lies. Love always wins." Within minutes, the image went viral, sending fans into a frenzy. Some congratulated her, others dragged her for disrespecting Rasheeda. But what everyone wanted was Kirk's voice. Where was he? Why hadn't he spoken? Hours later, a video surfaced on a shady gossip page. It showed Kirk leaving a hotel lobby with his hoodie pulled low, refusing to answer questions as reporters swarmed him. Kirk, did you marry Jasmine? Kirk, what about Rasheeda? His silence spoke louder than words. He jumped into a waiting car and sped off, leaving a trail of flashing cameras behind. The clip only fueled the fire, with fans interpreting his escape as guilt. In the hospital, Rasheeda couldn't escape the noise. Even with the television off, she could hear the whispers in the hallways, the phones buzzing with updates, the nurses trying not to gossip but failing. She pulled the blanket over her head, wishing for quiet, but even in the darkness, the image of Kirk slipping a ring onto Jasmine's finger replayed like a nightmare. Finally, late that night, she made a decision. With trembling hands, she asked her assistant to bring her laptop. She logged into her Instagram account, her heart pounding. She typed slowly, carefully, each word dripping with pain but also strength. After years of loyalty, love, and sacrifice, I never thought I'd face this day. Betrayal cuts deeper than any wound, and sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who destroy you. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I deserve better. Thank you to everyone praying for me and my family. This is not the end of my story. She hit post. Within seconds, her followers exploded with support. Celebrities, fans, and friends flooded the comments with encouragement. We got you, sis. Stay strong, queen. You're too good for him anyway. The tide seemed to shift. For once, the narrative wasn't mocking, hurt was rallying behind her. But even as support poured in, the divide grew deeper. Jasmine saw the post and rolled her eyes. She's playing victim again, she muttered, tossing her phone aside. To her, Rasheeda was the obstacle that never stepped aside, the shadow that refused to fade. And now, with Kirk caught between them, the battle lines were clearer than ever. Atlanta buzzed with speculation. Would Rasheeda file for divorce? Would Kirk step forward with an explanation? Would Jasmine flaunt her new status as Kirk's wife even more? The drama wasn't just about love, it was about pride, reputation, and survival. In the days that followed, whispers spread of a confrontation brewing. Some claimed Rasheeda wanted to face Jasmine directly, not in private but in front of the world. Others said Mona Scott was already calling cast members, planning how to turn this real-life scandal into the centerpiece of the next season. Whatever the truth, one thing was undeniable. The city was holding its breath, waiting for the next eruption in this explosive saga. And in the quiet of her hospital room, Rasheeda wiped away her tears, her resolve hardening. She had been humiliated, betrayed, and broken, but she wasn't finished. Not yet. The morning sun rose over Atlanta, but for Rasheeda, the light brought no comfort. She sat by the hospital window, staring blankly at the skyline, her mind heavy with the storm she could not escape. Her Instagram post had already been picked up by major outlets, her words plastered across headlines. Rasheeda breaks silence after Kirk's alleged secret wedding. The world now knew her pain, and though the sympathy poured in, it only made the betrayal feel more public, more permanent. Her phone buzzed constantly, friends checking in, strangers offering support, blogs digging for comments. But one name was missing from the flood of notifications. Kirk. Not a single word, not a call, not even a text. He had vanished into silence, leaving Rasheeda drowning in unanswered questions. Did he really marry Jasmine? Did he mean those vows, those promises she saw on that shaky video? Or was it all some cruel performance? Meanwhile, Jasmine was embracing her moment. She stepped out of the luxury suite in a sleek designer outfit, her ring flashing as paparazzi cameras erupted around her. She didn't cover her face, didn't hide behind tinted windows. Instead, she smiled, chin high, as though declaring victory without saying a word. Jasmine, Jasmine, are you really married to Kirk? Reporters shouted. She paused, turned slightly to the cameras, and said with a coy smile, "Love doesn't lie." The clip hit the internet within minutes, sparking another wildfire of outrage and speculation. Fans tore into her online. How dare she flaunt this? One wrote, "Rasheeda is in the hospital and she's out here grinning." Yet others applauded her boldness. She's been patient for years. If Kirk chose her, why should she hide? The city was split, families and friends arguing over dinner tables, workplaces buzzing with gossip. It was no longer just Kirk and Rasheeda's problem, it was Atlanta's scandal. Back at the hospital, Rasheeda's strength was returning. She had been humiliated, yes, but she wasn't about to crumble forever. Her closest friends gathered in the room. Carly Red, Candy Burris, and even Yandi Smith flew in to show support. They circled her bed, like sisters preparing for war. "Sis, you cannot let her win like this," Carly urged. "She wants you broken. She wants you silent. You gotta stand up." Yandi leaned forward, her voice firm. "This isn't just about Kirk. This is about respect. If you let this slide, it sends the message that anyone can walk all over you. You've built too much to let it crumble now." Candy added softly, "And don't forget, you're not just a wife, you're a brand, a mother, a boss. Atlanta looks up to you. You can't let them see you defeated." Their words lit a fire inside Rasheeda. She wiped her tears, sat taller and nodded slowly. "You're right. I've been quiet too long. If they want a war, I'll give them one." Meanwhile, Kirk was holed up in a discreet condo on the outskirts of the city, his phone buzzing endlessly. His manager urged him to release a statement, but Kirk just sat on the couch, head in his hands. "Man, you don't understand," he muttered. "If I admit it, Rasheeda will never forgive me. If I deny it, Jasmine will turn on me. Either way, I'm done." His manager shot back, You already done, bro. The world saw the video. You gotta pick a side before both of them destroy you. But Kirk couldn't choose. For years, he had straddled the line between two worlds: his wife, the woman who stood by him, and the younger woman who had tempted him into scandal. Now the line was gone, replaced by a battlefield he couldn't control. He scrolled through his phone, staring at photos of his children, the family he was about to lose. His chest tightened with regret, but his pride wouldn't let him admit it. That night, Mona Scott finally made her move. She called Rasheeda directly, her voice calm but calculating. Look, I know you're hurting, but we both know this story is bigger than you, bigger than Kirk, bigger than Jasmine. The world is already watching. We can either let the blogs control the narrative, or you can take control on camera. Rasheeda hesitated, anger rising in her throat. Mona, this isn't just TV. This is my life. Mona's voice sharpened. And your life is what people tune in for. Don't let Jasmine write the ending. You write it? The seed was planted. By the next morning, whispers spread that VH1 producers were already arranging cameras, preparing for an explosive sit-down between Rasheeda, Kirk, and Jasmine. Fans speculated endlessly, their anticipation feeding the fire. If Rasheeda and Jasmine face off, it's going to be the biggest moment in love and hip-hop history, one fan tweeted. I'm grabbing popcorn. At the hospital, Rasheeda signed her discharge papers, determined to walk out on her own 2 feet. As she stepped outside, the crowd of paparazzi erupted in flashes. She didn't hide her face or cover her tears. She looked straight at the cameras and said, I'll have my say soon. The clip went viral instantly, setting the stage for the confrontation everyone was waiting for. That evening, Jasmine doubled down. She posted a polished photo shoot in a flowing white dress, holding her ring finger up to the camera. The caption read, Happily Ever After starts now. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Fans flooded her comments with snake emojis, calling her shameless and heartless. But the attention only fueled her. She replied to one critic, Y'all been calling me the side chick for years. Guess what? I'm the wife now. The insult hit Rasheeda's phone within minutes. Her hands shook as she read it, fury boiling inside her. Carly urged her to ignore it, but Rasheeda's voice was steady as she said, No, she wants a response. She's going to get one, but it's not going to be on Instagram. It's going to be face-to-face. Word spread quickly. Rasheeda had agreed to sit down with Kirk and Jasmine for a televised confrontation. The city buzzed with anticipation, fans arguing over who would come out on top. Some predicted Rasheeda would crumble under the weight of betrayal. Others believed she would unleash years of pent-up rage and finally put Jasmine in her place. Either way, the world was watching. On the day of the taping, tension filled the studio. Producers whispered nervously, knowing the stakes were higher than ever. The set was simpler, long table, 3 chairs, cameras positioned from every angle. Mona stood off to the side, her eyes sharp, ready to capture every tear, every scream, every explosion. Rasheeda walked in first, her posture strong but her eyes burning with pain. She sat at the table, her hands folded tightly, waiting. Moments later, Jasmine entered, strutting confidently, her white dress hugging her figure, her ring glinting under the studio lights. The audience gasped, murmuring as she sat across from Rasheeda with a smirk. Finally, Kirk appeared, his shoulders slumped, his face heavy with shame. He walked slowly to the table. He didn't look at either woman, his eyes fixed on the floor. The silence was deafening until Mona gave the signal for cameras to roll. The moment had arrived. The betrayal was no longer whispers or speculation, it was flesh and blood, face to face. And as the 3 of them sat across from each other, the entire world held its breath, waiting for the eruption that was sure to come. The air inside the studio was so thick with tension you could almost hear it buzzing. The cameras were rolling, the lights glaring down, and Mona Scott stood in the shadows like a general preparing for battle. Rasheeda sat with her back straight, her hands folded tightly in front of her, her nails digging into her palms. Across the table, Jasmine leaned back in her chair, her lips curved into a smug smile, twirling her diamond-studded ring as if it were a weapon meant to taunt. Between them sat Kirk, shoulders hunched, sweat glistening at his temples, avoiding eye contact with both women. The silence was suffocating until Rasheeda finally spoke, her voice low but trembling with fury. After everything we've been through, after everything I sacrificed, you thought you could marry her in secret. You thought I wouldn't find out. Her words cut through the room like a blade, and Kirk flinched. Jasmine tilted her head, her smirk widening. Maybe he got tired of hiding me. She shot back, her tone dripping with venom. Maybe he realized I was the one who gave him what he really wanted. The audience gasped, whispers rippling through the set. Rasheeda's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. She leaned forward, her voice cracking. What you gave him was pain. What you gave him was embarrassment. You destroyed my family. Jasmine. Jasmine laughed coldly, flicking her hair over her shoulder. Your family was already broken, baby. I just showed him he didn't have to pretend anymore. Kirk slammed his hand on the table, his voice finally rising. Enough. Both of y'all acting like this is a game, but this ain't no damn game. This is my life too. Rasheeda turned to him, her voice dripping with hurt. Your life. What about mine, Kirk? What about our kids? Did you think about them when you put a ring on her finger? Kirk's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. The silence that followed was heavier than his outburst. Jasmine leaned forward, seizing the moment. He chose me. That's what this all comes down to. He chose me, and you can't handle it. Her words struck Rasheeda like daggers. The years of humiliation, the sleepless nights, the public scandals all crashing down in that one statement. Rasheeda's chest rose and fell rapidly as she whispered, "You will never replace me. You will never be me." The audience erupted in gasps and murmurs. Mona signaled the cameras to zoom in, capturing every tear, every trembling lip. The drama was raw, explosive, and unfiltered, exactly what the world had been waiting to see. Kirk rubbed his face with his hands, visibly breaking down under the weight of it all. I didn't mean for it to go this far, he muttered, his voice shaky. I was confused. I made mistakes, but I never stopped loving you, Rasheeda. Rasheeda's eyes widened in disbelief. You call marrying her a mistake? You call putting me in the hospital with heartbreak a mistake? Her voice cracked, and finally, the tears she had been holding back spilled down her face. Jasmine rolled her eyes, unimpressed. Here we go again. The victim act. Always the poor, heartbroken wife. Please. You knew he was mine too. You just didn't want to admit it. Her words lit a fire inside Rasheeda, who shot to her feet, pointing a trembling finger at Jasmine. Don't you dare disrespect me like that. You will never have what I gave him. Loyalty, family, legacy. You can wear that ring all you want, but you'll never wear the crown. The audience screamed, some cheering Rasheeda, others egging Jasmine on. Security guards shifted nervously on the sidelines, ready in case things got physical. Jasmine smirked again, standing slowly, her face inches from Rasheeda's crown. She sneered. Girl, that crown is tarnished. He put it on me now. She raised her hand, flashing the ring directly in Rasheeda's face. The audacity sent a shockwave through the room. Rasheeda's hand twitched, as though resisting the urge to strike. But instead, she let out a shaky laugh, one filled with bitterness. You really think this is forever? You really think Kirk's gonna stay loyal to you after what you did to me? You're nothing but a storyline to him. A side piece with a shiny toy. That's all you'll ever be. The sting of Rasheeda's words silenced Jasmine for the first time. Her smirk faltered, her eyes narrowing. But before she could respond, Kirk finally stood. His face was red, his voice loud, cracking with emotion. I didn't marry nobody, he shouted. The room fell silent in shock. That video wasn't no real wedding. It was a vow renewal ceremony. For fun, something Jasmine wanted to stage. I didn't think it would get out. The audience gasped. The producers exchanged frantic glances, and Rasheeda froze. What? She whispered, her heart pounding. You're telling me this was some kind of stunt? Kirk nodded, his shoulders slumping. Yes, I messed up. I let it happen. But it wasn't real. It wasn't legal. You're still my wife. The revelation sent the studio into chaos. Audience members shouted, some accusing Kirk of lying, others questioning Jasmine's motives. Rasheeda's tears turned to rage as she shouted, so you let me collapse, you let me suffer. You let the whole world think you married her, and you didn't even have the decency to clear it up. Her voice cracked, raw and furious. Jasmine crossed her arms, glaring at Kirk. Don't you dare downplay what we have. You stood there. You said those vows. You looked me in the eye and promised forever. Don't act like it didn't mean something. Kirk shook his head, his voice breaking. It meant something, but it wasn't what you think. I was wrong. I was weak. But I never stopped being Rasheeda's husband. The betrayal twisted into a new form. Rasheeda wasn't sure what was worse, the idea that Kirk had married Jasmine in secret, or that he had allowed a fake wedding to happen at all, humiliating her in the process. She turned away, unable to look at either of them. You've destroyed me, she whispered, her body trembling. Mona Scott stepped in, her voice cutting through the chaos. This isn't over. Not by a long shot, but the world deserves to see the truth. The question is, what are you going to do now, Rasheeda? The cameras zoomed in, capturing the moment as Rasheeda wiped her tears, her face hardening with resolve. She turned back to Kirk and Jasmine, her voice steady. What I'm going to do is take back my power. You want drama? You want scandal? Fine, but you won't break me. Not now, not ever. The audience erupted into cheers, Rasheeda's words echoing like a battle cry. Jasmine's smug mask cracked, her eyes flashing with anger. Kirk stood frozen, caught between two women who both demanded pieces of his soul. The war was far from over, but one thing was clear. The battlefield had been drawn, and the world would be watching every step of the way. The studio audience hadn't even left their seats when clips of the confrontation began flooding the internet. Phones had been raised the entire time. Shaky recordings catching every tear on Rasheeda's face, every smirk from Jasmine, every stumble in Kirk's excuses. Within minutes, hashtags like Rasheeda's Jasmine, hashtag Kirk confession, and hashtag fake wedding were trending worldwide. Bloggers called it the most shocking love and hip-hop moment in history, and fans across the globe replayed the scene again and again, dissecting every word, every glare, every flicker of emotion. Rasheeda left the studio first, refusing to stay another second in that room with the two people who had dragged her through hell. Cameras followed her as she walked briskly to her car, sunglasses covering her swollen eyes, but nothing could mask the pain etched across her face. Her silence outside the studio was deafening, but it only made fans want answers more. Reporters shouted questions, flashes lit up the night, and still she said nothing. She slid into her car and slammed the door, leaving the world buzzing with speculation about her next move. Inside the studio, Jasmine refused to back down. Surrounded by her small entourage, she laughed off the chaos. Let them talk, she said confidently, sipping on a bottle of water like it was champagne. At the end of the day, everybody saw the vows. Everybody knows he chose me. Paper or not, it's real. Her friends nodded, hyping her up, but the cracks in her confidence were beginning to show. The internet was dragging her mercilessly, painting her as the villain once again. She scrolled through thousands of comments, her smirk fading as she read words like homewrecker, pathetic, and delusional. Kirk sat in a quiet corner of the studio, his head in his hands. He knew the damage was beyond repair. His phone buzzed non-stop with calls from producers, family, even business partners who were worried about the fallout. His silence had already made him look guilty, and now his weak attempt to explain away the ceremony as a staged vow renewal only made things worse. No one believed him, not Rasheeda, not Jasmine, not the fans. For years, he had juggled lies and excuses, but now the truth had trapped him in a corner with no escape. Back at home, Rasheeda locked herself in her bedroom, replaying the confrontation in her head. The humiliation of hearing Jasmine brag about being chosen, the pain of Kirk downplaying the betrayal as some meaningless stunt, it all churned inside her like a storm. Her children knocked on the door, their voices filled with worry, but she couldn't bring herself to face them. How could she explain that their father had stood in front of another woman and promised forever, even if it wasn't legal? The betrayal wasn't just hers to bear, it belonged to the entire family. The following morning, Atlanta woke up to chaos. Every radio show, every blog, every television segment was dissecting the scandal. On Young Jock's show, the debate got heated. "Look, I know Kirk," Jock said, his tone serious, "but I can't defend this. Real or fake, you don't play with your marriage like that. You don't let your wife collapse in the hospital while you're running around with another woman." Callers chimed in, some blaming Jasmine for manipulating the situation, others blaming Kirk for never respecting Rasheeda in the first place. The city was divided, but one thing was certain: everyone was watching. That afternoon, Rasheeda finally emerged from hiding. She stepped into her store, pressed, surrounded by cameras and fans who had gathered outside. Instead of breaking down, she stood tall, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd. "I've been through hell, y'all know that, and I'm still standing. What happened was disrespectful, it was humiliating, and it hurt me to my core, but I'm not going to let it break me. I built everything I have with my own hands, and no scandal, no betrayal, no lies are going to take that from me." The crowd erupted in cheers, fans shouting, "We love you, Rasheeda, stay strong, Queen." The moment went viral instantly, cementing her as the heroine of the saga. While Jasmine flaunted her ring and Kirk cowered in silence, Rasheeda was reclaiming her narrative, and the public rallied behind her. But Jasmine wasn't about to let Rasheeda steal the spotlight. That same night, she went live on Instagram, her face flawless, her tone smug. "Everybody's mad, but y'all can't erase what happened. Kirk stood up and promised me forever. He looked me in my eyes and said words he probably never said to her. Y'all can call me what you want, but I know the truth, and so does she." Thousands tuned in, flooding the comments with insults and support alike. Some fans begged her to stop, warning her she was destroying herself even more. Others cheered her on, praising her boldness. But the more she spoke, the more the world saw the cracks in her confidence. Meanwhile, Kirk finally broke his silence. Sitting alone in a dimly lit room, he recorded a video statement on his phone. His voice was heavy, his eyes tired. "I made mistakes. I let things happen that should have never happened. I hurt the woman who stood by me for years, and I embarrassed my family." That video y'all saw wasn't a real wedding, but it was real enough to cause pain, and for that, I take full responsibility. To Rasheeda, I'm sorry. To my kids, I'm sorry. To the fans who've supported us, I'm sorry. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I gotta do better. The video spread quickly, but the reactions were mixed. Some applauded him for finally speaking, while others dismissed it as too little, too late. "He's only sorry because he got caught," one fan commented. "Where was this energy before Rasheeda collapsed?" Another wrote, "The apology did little to calm the storm, and in many ways, it only made things worse." The drama escalated further when court documents surfaced online, leaked by an anonymous source. They revealed that Kirk and Jasmine had filed paperwork for a marriage license weeks before the alleged ceremony. Though the documents hadn't been finalized, the revelation reignited the speculation. Was Kirk lying again? Was the fake wedding actually real, but unfinished? The ambiguity sent fans spiraling, with theories flying across the internet. Some believed Jasmine leaked the documents herself to prove her point. Others thought Kirk had done it as leverage. The truth remained murky, but the scandal grew deeper by the hour. Rasheeda's phone buzzed with texts from friends urging her to file for divorce immediately. "Don't wait another day," Candy messaged. "Protect yourself, protect your money, protect your peace." Even her mother pushed her, reminding her that enough was enough. But Rasheeda hesitated. Divorce wasn't just a personal decision, it was a public declaration, one that would unravel her entire life. She wasn't sure she was ready to face that finality, even if her heart was screaming for it. The streets of Atlanta pulsed with gossip. At salons, barbershops, and clubs, everyone debated the scandal like it was the city's own soap opera. Some swore Rasheeda would finally walk away, others bet she would forgive Kirk once again, unable to let go of the history they shared. And then there were those who believed Jasmine would push harder than ever, determined to claim her place beside Kirk, no matter the cost. Behind closed doors, Rasheeda wrestled with her next move. She sat in her home office, staring at stacks of business contracts, photos of her children, and old wedding pictures of her and Kirk. Her heart ached, but her spirit grew stronger with every passing hour. She knew the world was watching, waiting to see whether she would crumble or rise. And deep down, she knew the battle wasn't over. It was only beginning. The following weekend, Mona Scott announced a special televised reunion episode, promising to address the scandal head-on. Fans lost their minds, flooding social media with anticipation. "This is gonna break the internet," one fan wrote. "I don't even watch the show anymore, but I'm tuning in for this." The stage was set for the ultimate showdown, and Atlanta braced itself for the next chapter in the saga. And as Rasheeda prepared for that reunion, she looked at herself in the mirror, wiping away the last traces of tears. Her voice was steady as she whispered to her reflection, "This time, I'm fighting for me." The reunion stage was lit like a battlefield, bright spotlights cutting through the heavy anticipation that filled the room. Rows of chairs were lined up, the infamous Love and Hip Hop backdrop glowing in red and gold, and a buzzing audience sat restless, phones in hand, eager to capture whatever chaos was about to unfold. Mona Scott paced backstage with a clipboard, whispering sharp instructions to the crew. "Keep cameras on at all times," she ordered. "Don't miss a single tear, a single scream. This is history." Rasheeda arrived first, stepping onto the stage with a quiet determination that silenced the crowd. Dressed in an all-black outfit, her face flawless but her eyes hard, she looked every bit the woman who had endured fire and was ready to walk through it again. The audience erupted in cheers, chanting her name, rallying behind her as if she were the city's heroine. She sat in her chair, crossing her legs, her hands folded neatly, but inside her heart thundered. Minutes later, Jasmine entered from the opposite side, wearing a shimmering white dress that clung to her figure like armor. The audience booed, some yelling insults, others throwing jeers that echoed across the set. But Jasmine smirked, lifting her chin higher, deliberately flashing her ring as if to remind everyone why they were here. She waved mockingly at the crowd, which only made them roar louder. She sat down directly across from Rasheeda, their eyes locking in a silent war. Finally, Kirk was ushered out, his face tense, his posture slouched. The applause was scattered, mixed with boos, the sound of a man caught in the crossfire of his own making. He avoided looking at either woman, choosing instead to sink into his seat like a man who wished he could vanish altogether. The host wasted no time. Tonight, we're here to address what the entire world has been talking about: Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda. The alleged secret wedding, the collapse, the leaked documents, the confession, it's all on the table, and we're not leaving until we get answers. The cameras zoomed in as Rasheeda lifted her chin, her voice steady but cold. There's nothing alleged about it. I saw the video. I saw him vow to another woman while I was at home, believing I had a husband who respected me. I ended up in the hospital because of the pain, and he still sits here acting like it was some little mistake. Jasmine laughed under her breath, leaning forward. Pain. Girl, the only pain you're feeling is knowing he finally had the guts to do what he wanted. You spent years pretending your marriage was perfect, but everybody knew the truth. He was with me, too. He loved me, too, and now the world knows. The crowd booed again, some shouting, "Sit down," while others screamed, "You'll never be her." But Jasmine thrived on the attention, smirking at Rasheeda like a cat playing with its prey. Kirk finally lifted his head, his voice weary. I already said it wasn't a real wedding. It wasn't legal. It was a mistake, and I'm sorry. Rasheeda turned to him sharply. You keep saying it wasn't real, but you stood there, Kirk. You held her hand. You spoke vows. You let people record it. You let me collapse in our home while the world laughed at me. Do you know what that did to me? Do you even care? Kirk's eyes watered, his voice cracking. Of course I care. You're my wife. You've always been my wife. But I was weak. I let her talk me into something I should have never done. The audience gasped, and all eyes turned to Jasmine, who bristled at the accusation. Talk you into it, she hissed. Don't you dare put this on me. You wanted it just as much as I did. You looked me in my eyes and told me forever. Don't act like I forced you. The argument spiraled, voices rising, the hosts struggling to maintain order. The crowd cheered every jab, every raw confession, the studio vibrating with energy. Rasheeda finally stood, pointing at Jasmine with a trembling finger. You can have every vow, every fake ceremony, every ring, but you will never have the history, the years, the empire I built. You're temporary, Jasmine. And deep down, you know it. Jasmine shot to her feet, her voice sharp and loud. Temporary. Baby, I'm the future. You're the past he's been dragging along. He chose me. He was ready to build something new with me. You're just too bitter to let go. The two women moved closer, the audience screaming, security guards stepping in just as it seemed like a fight would break out. Kirk stood between them, shouting, "Stop, both of you. This ain't solving nothing." But his voice was drowned out by the chaos. The host raised her voice over the shouting. Hold on, we've got something to show you both." She motioned to the big screen behind them. The lights dimmed, and suddenly a new video played. It was footage from the night of the alleged wedding, filmed from another angle. The quality was clearer this time, showing Kirk slipping the ring onto Jasmine's finger, but also catching audio of him whispering, "This ain't legal, you know that, right?" The audience gasped. Rasheeda's hand flew to her mouth, and Jasmine's face paled. The video cut to black, leaving the stage in stunned silence. The host turned back to them. So, Jasmine, if you knew it wasn't legal, why flaunt it as if it was? And Kirk, if you knew it wasn't real, why do it at all? Jasmine stammered, her confidence cracking for the first time. Because it felt real. It meant something. Legal or not, it meant something. Rasheeda's voice shook with fury. It meant my life fell apart for nothing. You played with me, both of you, and you call that meaning something. Her tears flowed freely now, the rawness of her pain filling the room. Kirk's voice broke. I messed up. I can't take it back. All I can do is beg you to forgive me. The audience erupted, some shouting support, others booing, the divide clearer than ever. The reunion had become more than just television, it was a trial by fire, with millions watching as a marriage burned before their eyes. Backstage, Mona smiled to herself. The ratings were already skyrocketing, the internet exploding with clips, the world unable to look away. But for Rasheeda, Jasmine, and Kirk, this wasn't just entertainment. This was their lives, shattered and laid bare for everyone to see. As the reunion ended in chaos, with Rasheeda storming off the stage, Jasmine shouting insults, and Kirk chasing after his wife, one thing was certain: the fallout was far from over. Atlanta buzzed with anticipation, wondering what Rasheeda's next move would be. Would she finally file for divorce? Would she walk away from Kirk for good? Or would she shock everyone again by forgiving him one more time? The cameras cut, the lights dimmed, but the drama was only just beginning. The studio parking lot was pure madness after the reunion ended. Paparazzi swarmed like vultures. Fans screamed at the top of their lungs, and security struggled to contain the frenzy. Rasheeda rushed into her black SUV, slamming the door shut as cameras flashed wildly around her. Her face was hidden behind dark shades, but everyone could see the tension in her clenched jaw. Inside the car, her chest heaved with rage and heartbreak. She had promised herself not to cry in front of the cameras again. Not after the collapse, not after showing so much weakness, but her tears still fell silently as the driver sped away. Back on the lot, Jasmine lingered, soaking in the chaos like a twisted victory parade. She strutted toward her own car, blowing kisses at the fans who booed her, laughing at their anger. "Keep talking," she taunted, her voice loud enough for the cameras to catch. "Y'all just mad because he's mine now." Security rushed her inside her car, but her words had already been captured, replayed, and posted online within minutes. The comment sections exploded. Some called her bold, others called her delusional, but everyone agreed this saga was far from over. Kirk, on the other hand, disappeared into the shadows, ducking into a side exit and slipping into a discreet sedan. His phone buzzed relentlessly, but he ignored it, his mind spiraling. He knew Rasheeda was done with excuses, and he knew Jasmine wasn't going to back down. For the first time in years, he had lost control of the narrative. The empire he had built with Rasheeda was cracking, and his reputation in Atlanta was being shredded by the hour. At home, Rasheeda's mother sat in her living room, watching the reunion replay on TV. Her hands shook with anger as she muttered, "That man has humiliated my daughter enough." She picked up the phone, dialing Rasheeda. When her daughter finally answered, her voice was low and broken. "Mama, I can't do this no more," she whispered. Her mother's voice was firm, but filled with love. "Then don't. You don't owe him your loyalty anymore. You owe yourself peace. You owe your kids stability. Don't let him drag you down again." The words lingered in Rasheeda's mind as she sat in her bedroom later that night, staring at a stack of divorce papers her lawyer had sent weeks ago but she never signed. Her hands hovered over the pen, trembling. Memories flooded her, the good times, the laughs, the family vacations, the nights when Kirk promised her he would change. But then the images shifted to Jasmine's smug smile, the fake wedding vows, the collapse in her living room, the hospital bed. Her chest tightened as she whispered to herself, "Enough." Meanwhile, Jasmine went live once again, her ring sparkling under the lights of her phone screen. "They can boo all they want. They can call me names all they want. But Kirk knows who he loves. He knows who makes him happy. And y'all saw it too, saw him bow to me. Legal or not, I don't care. His actions said everything." Her words sparked another frenzy, but something was different this time. The tide of comments was harsher, colder. Even some of her longtime supporters were turning on her. "This is ugly," one wrote. "You don't celebrate another woman's pain like this." Another commented, "Sis, he ain't choosing you. He's just using you to hurt Rasheeda. Wake up." The backlash hit hard, and for the first time Jasmine's confidence wavered. She ended the live abruptly, tossing her phone across the room. Alone in the silence, she replayed Kirk's words at the reunion. It wasn't real. The sting cut deeper than she wanted to admit. She thought she had won, but now she wasn't sure if she had been played all along. The next morning, the city woke up to breaking news. Rasheeda had filed for divorce. TMZ broke the story first, plastering the headline across their site. Rasheeda finally walks away from Kirk after secret wedding scandal. The internet exploded, fans cheering her decision. Others shocked she had finally taken the step everyone thought she never would. Outside her store, pressed, fans gathered with signs of support. "We love you, Rasheeda. Know your worth." The outpouring of love was overwhelming. Kirk saw the headline on his phone as he sat in his car outside a hotel. His stomach dropped, his chest tightening. He had always believed Rasheeda would forgive him, no matter what. She always had before. But this time felt different. This time, she wasn't just hurt, she was done. He slammed his phone down, muttering to himself, "She ain't serious. She can't be serious." But deep down, he knew she was. Jasmine, however, celebrated the news like a victory. She posted a photo of herself in a white dress, holding a bouquet, with the caption, "Patience pays off." The internet went ballistic. Fans flooded her comments with outrage, calling her insensitive and cruel. Some accused her of pushing Rasheeda to this point on purpose, but Jasmine didn't care. In her mind, the path was finally clear. Rasheeda was out of the picture, and she had won. But Rasheeda wasn't broken. She was rebuilding. In interviews, she began to speak openly about her pain, but also about her strength. "This isn't the end of me," she told one outlet. This is the beginning of a new chapter. I gave my heart to someone who didn't value it, but now I'm taking it back. I'm standing for myself, my kids, my peace." Fans rallied even harder, turning her into a symbol of resilience. Behind the scenes, Kirk spiraled. He showed up at Rasheeda's house, unannounced, banging on the door, begging her to talk. "Don't do this, baby. Don't throw everything away. We can fix this," he pleaded. But Rasheeda refused to open the door. From inside, she shouted, "You broke me for the last time, Kirk. I'm done." His shoulders slumped, his heart pounding with panic. He realized, too late, that his grip on her was slipping forever. The fallout reached even further when VH1 announced a two-part special dedicated solely to the scandal. With unseen footage, cast reactions, and interviews. The promo alone sent fans into a frenzy, promising more twists, more drama, more raw emotion. Mona Scott knew exactly what she was doing, and the world couldn't wait to watch. Meanwhile, Jasmine's confidence began to crack. Rumors spread that Kirk wasn't answering her calls, avoiding her just like he was avoiding Rasheeda. She paced around her apartment, scrolling through blogs that no longer celebrated her but ridiculed her. "He played both of us," one headline read. Jasmine left humiliated as Kirk runs from both women. The reality sank in. Maybe she wasn't the winner she thought she was. Rasheeda, however, found strength in her independence. She focused on her store, her music, her brand, throwing herself into work like a woman, determined to rise from the ashes. She began posting empowering messages on social media, her following growing, her comments flooded with support. She was no longer just the wife betrayed, she was the woman who refused to be defined by betrayal. But the drama didn't end there. Just when the dust began to settle, another bombshell dropped. A gossip blog leaked screenshots of alleged text messages between Kirk and another woman, neither Rasheeda nor Jasmine. The messages were flirtatious, suggestive, and damning. The internet erupted once again, declaring Kirk a serial cheater who would never change. For Rasheeda, the texts were confirmation she had made the right choice. For Jasmine, they were a slap in the face, proof that even after everything, Kirk was still playing games. And for Kirk, it was the final nail in the coffin of his crumbling reputation. The story that began with a secret wedding had spiraled into something much bigger, a tale of betrayal, resilience, humiliation, and survival that gripped an entire city and beyond. And through it all, one truth became clear. The war between Rasheeda, Jasmine, and Kirk was far from over. The saga that began with whispers of a secret wedding ended in scorched earth. Kirk Frost stood exposed, not just as a man who had betrayed his wife with Jasmine Washington, but as someone who could not resist repeating the same cycle with new women again and again. Jasmine, once triumphant, found herself mocked and ridiculed, abandoned by the very man she fought so hard to claim. And Rasheeda, the woman who had endured humiliation after humiliation, finally rose from the ashes, reclaiming her strength and refusing to be defined by betrayal. The divorce papers had been signed. The public sympathy was hers, and the fans rallied behind her louder than ever. In the end, the crown remained with Rasheeda, not because Kirk gave it to her, and not because Jasmine tried to steal it, but because she stood tall when both of them tried to break her. Yet, as with every love and hip-hop scandal, questions remain. Will Kirk try to win Rasheeda back? Or is the divorce final? Will Jasmine fade into the background? Or will she scheme to claw her way back into the spotlight? And with new cheating rumors swirling, is Kirk's downfall just beginning? The drama has shaken Atlanta to its core, but one thing is certain, this story isn't finished. And now it's your turn. What do you think? Should Rasheeda finally close the book on Kirk for good? Or do you believe there's still a chance for forgiveness? Is Jasmine the victim of Kirk's games, or the architect of her own downfall? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Because this scandal is bigger than one family, it's a storm the entire world is watching. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for all the updates, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next explosive twist in this saga. The drama is only getting started.